Hello everyone and welcome back to another OPTC Cruise video. So we have a new Pirate Rumble rare recruit in Summertime Carrot. Now this is a very interesting unit because she's kind of the first direct counter we've had to the shooter team in Rumble. And as we all know, shooters are the most dominant right now. Whenever you see a shooter team, usually the normal response is just to reset. So the fact that we're getting a unit that directly counters them is very interesting, but I don't think that we have enough units to counter the shooter team to warrant pulling for this unit right now. I think maybe after a while, if we see more characters coming out that can counter shooters that work well with this carrot, then she could become a worthwhile unit to get. But right now, I don't see it. She is a very interesting character, however, and she actually has a regular special that's actually semi-viable. So Carrot is a quick fighter striker unit, and they are going to, or she is going to synergize well with both quick and fighter teams. Of course, fighter teams aren't the most interesting right now, so I don't see her really being used for fighters. The quick team, I think she's a great asset. She works really well with the recent Weevil legend. Unfortunately, quick teams haven't been the hardest lately. Besides Weevil, we haven't really gotten much in terms of quick support. But before we go into Carrot's details, also big thank you to the Lord Shiro for providing this very cool infographic to allow us to see Carrot's abilities. But let's first see how Carrot's SugoFest is going to look if some good characters are available. So if we take a look here, of course the SugoFest is debuting tomorrow, starting July 4th, 1900 PST. Carrot can be pulled, of course, with a fighter rate up. So if we take a look at the steps, we do have a 30 gem multi, of course. This is a standard for Rumble SugoFest. The second pull is either a legend or a Rumble SugoFest exclusive character. So that's pretty good second step in my opinion. And then the third step is a guaranteed legend with Rumble ability and special at level 5. So if you are going to be doing pulls, honestly just do the first multi, maybe the second. Beyond that, I don't really think it's worth it. Of course, at multi 5, you get a recommended unit, which is very good. Of course, that's any of the units you can see on the picture of the banner, which is a much more restricted pool of units. So we do have some rate boosted characters besides Carrot. We have Hachi, as well as Stasi and Otama. Not the best, I would say. Otama is still kind of usable today, but I really never see Hachi being used. Same goes for Stasi. And then of course we have every other Rumble character available. Now the big thing is which legends do we have here. So Weevil, which is great. I think it's awesome that he's going together with this carrot, since they synergize so well on a quick team. We also have Ryokugyu and Fujitora, not too bad. I use this legend quite a bit in Rumble. Smoothie is great also for the quick team, but there is kind of a bit of a conflict because Smoothie kind of does something similar to what Carrot does. A Smoothie is going to reduce the CT for your entire team by quite a bit, so she's great unit for allowing your specials to charge faster. But the thing is, Carrot also kind of does that. But we can talk about that a bit later when we go in depth on Carrot's abilities. Besides that, we also have some other recent characters, Nami and Sanji, as well as the version 2 Sulongs, and then Garp, Kuzan, Jumbe. Is basically all quick units, or partly quick. In terms of the legends, I mean, personally, I have every single one of these characters. I lack none of these legends. I'm not touching the SugoFest. But if you are missing like Weevil as well as Smoothie, then honestly, I just do maybe, as I said, the discount and the second multi. Garp is really good in Rumble, of course. Carrot and Sanji, Nami, I really don't see them being used. But in terms of the Rumble legends available, if you want to boost your quick teams, then these are really good legends to do so. But as I said, quick teams aren't really the hardest right now. So honestly, if you do lack a lot of these characters, then go for it. But I'm definitely skipping this one. The rated up Rumble units aren't the greatest. But yeah, if you are missing Weevil and Carrot, then maybe it's not a bad chance to just try doing 2 multis and see what you get. But let's get into what Carrot does. Now, We have a lot of different abilities here. As I said, she does have an interesting special. She actually gives a self-proccing conditional attack boost of paralysis. It doesn't go through immunity, but it's really not too bad. I mean, she also allows herself to go through enemy defensive effects for a turn. Very interesting. Not many units that do this in this game. A special is 16 cooldown though, so I really don't think that's good. Definitely are chances where I think this could actually be used, especially since paralysis is one of the more unique conditional attack boosts. You do need 2 or more Mink characters, so that's not too bad. I'm sure it does include herself, so you only need 1 other character who is a part of the Mink tagged units, and then you get the conditional attack boost, and you also get 2 turns of cooldown for your entire crew. Very, very good. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a sailor ability to reduce her own cooldown when it's rewinded. That would have actually made her semi-usable. If her cooldown was lower and she had that crewmate ability, then honestly I would be using this character, because that is a very solid kit, especially for a Rumble character. These characters usually never have usable specials, so very interesting. Of course, the captain ability is rubbish. Of course, her potential abilities are just damage reduction based, so that no matter how little tablets you have, you can get those abilities maxed and have her be more powerful in a Rumble. Then we have her Rumble abilities, of course, the most important part. So for 25 CT, very low, she's going to target enemies in a large range for attack, speed, and miss percent up of level 7 for 25 seconds. And then she's going to target quick and fighter allies for evade action bind for 20 seconds, as well as targeting shooter class enemies for action bind of 10 seconds. So she's doing quite a bit here. No damage, of course, but she doesn't do anything related to defense down or defense up, which, I mean, I wish she did give a bit of defense or gave the enemy defense down, but she does allow you to attack much more with speed up, and allows the enemy to attack less with miss percent up. The main thing is the action bind to shooter class enemies, because this is the main thing that is allowing her to counter quick type teams. I mean, shooter class teams, should I say. Now, quite interestingly, action bind is one of the debuffs that the units on the shooter team, none of them really actually resist action bind. We look here, this is Usopp and Lilith, the absolute goat of the shooter team. They resist silence, which is special bind. They reduce damage from striker and free spread enemies. Nothing related to action bind, they will get action binded. Same goes for S Snake, the strength S Snake legend. She also has silence resistance, but nothing related to action bind, so she will also get inflicted with the action bind. Luffy and Lucci, same thing, resist to forced out, but not to action bind. So in that way, Carrot definitely has a spot. It is only a 10-second action bind, but a lot can happen in those 10 seconds. And of course, having your quick and fighter allies evade action bind for 20 seconds is also very nice. It ensures that you will be able to use your specials. Of course, you want Carrot to go first, and she probably will with such a low CT. Then her Rumble passive is going to boost quick and fighter allies by attack HP both up of level 5. Shooter enemies attack and special CT speed down a level 5. And if there are 5 or more shooter enemies, gives herself a special CT speed up of level 5. So if you get that last condition and you are fighting a shooter team, the chances of her activating first are very, very high. And then of course, giving the shooter enemies special CT speed down of level 5, just really, really good. The chances of you activating your specials first are really, really nice. One thing I did see that Nydato talked about in his Rumble sheet is that S-Bear is the main concern here, because he does have an ability that allows him to force enemies out. So if Carrot gets forced out, then it will be quite detrimental. Of course, it does take very bad RNG for that to happen. But if you take a look here at S-Bear's special, which is only 20 CT, so there is a chance that he will activate it before Carrot, and then he can force out one of your enemies with the highest special CT, which is going to be Carrot. So there is a chance that SBA can screw you over. Of course, this would only be if SBA is on the main team. So if he's on the bench, you should be fine. But yeah, SBA is definitely one of the biggest counters to Carrot, who is on the shooter team. So honestly, I really like her kit. It's very, very powerful. Even if it doesn't do anything related to defense, you do get a lot of buffs on your team for quick and fighter allies, and then shooter enemies are getting a ton of debuffs. The chances of them activating their specials is very, very low. And the whole thing with the shooter team, or that I've noticed when using them, is that their specials activate ridiculously fast, and they stop you from using your specials. So if you kind of pulling the Uno reverse card with Carrot, I think that's quite powerful. So as I said, I don't see her really being used or being the unit that stops shooter teams from being overpowered right now. But I think if there are more units similar to Carrot that work well with her, that allows you to counter shooter teams, then this is going to be a very powerful unit. And of course, she does have evasion of action bind herself and reduce damage from strength enemies by 30%. The shooter team consists of a lot of strength characters, should I say. That's of course also really good. So honestly, I think this character is really, really nice. She's very interesting, and I'm glad that shooter teams are finally getting a counter, because as it is right now, they feel a bit too good, if I'm being honest. But let me know your thoughts. You think this character is worth pulling? And if you do, are you going to pull yourself? As I said, the discount multi will not hurt too much. I think even though I have all the characters available, I'll still do the 30 gem multi, and I'll post it to YouTube as a short or a video. We'll see how it goes. I do have a few gems been saving up. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe. As I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace. I'm out.